All right, so get this. The European Central Bank, the ECB, the very embodiment of traditional finance. Well, they're predicting Bitcoin could hit $10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah, you heard that right. $10 million.
Wow.
We're diving deep today into an article that explores this prediction and what it says about the future of money, and we'll connect it to the European Union's current economic, roller coaster ride.
What's really fascinating to me is that it's not just some, crypto influencer making this prediction.
Right.
This is the ECB, an institution basically built on the euro.
Yeah, it's almost like they're throwing down the gauntlet, acknowledging this potential future where Bitcoin's not just an alternative, it's like the main event.
Right.
But before we get lost in a world of $10 million pizzas, let's unpack why the ECB is even entertaining this idea.
Yeah.
Our article lays out a pretty stark picture of the economic challenges facing the EU right now.
Yeah, they're facing, it's like a financial trifecta,
Yeah, okay.
unfunded pensions, a mountain of debt, and stagnant productivity.
Yeah. Not exactly a recipe for economic sunshine and rainbows, and all of that's happening against a backdrop of high taxes, which further complicates the situation.
Absolutely.
So the article suggests that the ECB essentially has two options: austerity or inflation.
Right.
And politically, austerity, well, nobody really likes that word, do they?
Austerity is a tough sell because it means budget cuts, potential tax increases, and generally tightening the economic belt.
Right.
That can lead to social unrest and political instability.
For sure.
So that leaves inflation.
Right, but that's not a perfect solution either, is it?
No, it's not.
So let's break down this inflation dilemma.
Okay.
I get that it means prices go up, but what does that have to do with Bitcoin?
Okay, so think of inflation as like a slow erosion of your purchasing power.
Okay.
That euro you have in your pocket today buys less tomorrow as prices rise.
Right.
Now, what happens when people lose faith in a currency that's constantly losing value?
Yeah.
They start looking for alternatives. Something that can hold its value over time.
Right.
Enter Bitcoin.
Ah. Okay, so this is where the ECB's prediction starts to click into place.
Exactly.
They're seeing Bitcoin with its fixed supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. They're seeing that as a potential life raft in a sea of inflation.
Right.
Like digital gold.
Yeah. Exactly, like digital gold.
Yeah.
And this is where the tension really starts to build, because on the one hand, you have the ECB steeped in tradition, acknowledging Bitcoin's potential role in a future financial landscape.
Right.
But on the other hand, this very prediction reveals a deeper concern they have.
You mean the whole idea that Bitcoin could benefit early adopters and potentially widen the wealth gap?
Yeah, that's one of the main criticisms leveled at Bitcoin.
Right.
The argument is that those who got an early stand to gain the most, while those who are late to the party are left scrambling to catch up.
Right.
It creates this perception of an uneven playing field.
But the article doesn't just parrot the ECB's concerns, right?
Right.
It actually challenges that narrative, suggesting that the current system, the one built on fiat currency controlled by central banks, is the real culprit behind wealth disparity.
Yeah, that's a key point.
Yeah.
The article argues that by controlling the money supply and allowing for inflation, central banks are essentially chipping away at the purchasing power of everyday citizens.
Right.
And who benefits?
Yeah.
Those who hold assets that typically appreciate during inflationary periods.
Okay.
Bitcoin in this context is presented as a potential equalizer, a decentralized system outside the control of governments and central banks.
So are we talking about like a financial showdown brewing here? The traditional financial world represented by institutions like the ECB versus this decentralized digital frontier spearheaded by Bitcoin.
Absolutely. And the ECB's $10 million prediction, it isn't just a number.
Right.
It's a signal flare.
Yeah.
They're acknowledging a possible future where they may not have as much control. A future where Bitcoin and what it represents could reshape the entire financial landscape.
Okay, so buckle up, folks, because this deep dive is about to get even more interesting.
Yeah.
We've got the EU's economic woes setting the stage, the ECB dropping this bombshell prediction, and Bitcoin waiting in the wings with the potential to disrupt everything we thought we knew about money.
That's a really fascinating situation.
Yeah, this is a power struggle playing out right before our eyes, and we're going to unpack it all right after this.
Welcome back.
So before we jumped into this next part of our deep dive, we were talking about that potential $10 million Bitcoin future that the European Central Bank is predicting.
Yeah,
Well, that number may seem astronomical.
It is a big one.
Yeah, we've started to unravel why it's connected to the possibility of extreme euro inflation.
Well, and I think what's important to reiterate is that the ECB isn't saying this will happen,
Right.
but the fact that they are acknowledging it as a possibility
Right.
is huge,
Yeah.
especially coming from an institution that's known for its conservative approach to finance.
Right.
It really does highlight the growing awareness,
Yeah.
even within the traditional financial system,
Uh-huh.
that the ground is shifting beneath our feet.
Yeah.
Long-held assumptions about money and value and who controls it
Right.
are being challenged.
So let's entertain this $10 million Bitcoin world for a minute.
Okay.
Does that mean we all become Bitcoin millionaires, sipping virtual cocktails on our digital yachts?
Not quite.
Okay.
It's crucial to remember that the value of any currency, even a digital one like Bitcoin, is relative.
Okay.
Imagine Bitcoin hits $10 million, but a loaf of bread costs $10,000.
Right.
Your purchasing power hasn't actually changed all that much.
Okay. Yeah.
What really matters is how the prices of goods and services adjust in relation to Bitcoin.
That's a really important point. It's
Yeah.
not just about the number on the screen. It's about what you can actually do with that money in the real world.
Exactly.
So if Bitcoin were to become a dominant form of money, would it really change our day-to-day lives?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
A Bitcoin-centric world could fundamentally alter how we approach value savings and investment.
Okay.
Think about it. If you're holding a currency designed to resist inflation,
Uh-huh.
your savings could potentially hold their value over time in a way they might not with a fiat currency
Right.
that's subject to inflationary pressures.
So would we be paying for everything with Bitcoin? Would I be buying my morning coffee with fractions of a Bitcoin?
It's certainly possible.
Okay.
We're already seeing businesses both online and brick and mortar
Right.
accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Yeah.
If its value continues to rise, that trend could snowball.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that Bitcoin is more than just a currency.
Right.
It's a revolutionary technology.
Right. The whole blockchain thing.
The blockchain, yeah.
It feels like I'm constantly hearing about blockchain, but honestly, I still don't fully grasp what it is or why it matters.
So imagine a digital ledger
Okay.
distributed across a vast network of computers where every transaction is recorded securely and transparently.
Mm-hmm.
That's the essence of blockchain.
Okay.
And it's not just about Bitcoin. It has the potential to revolutionize far more than just payments.
Okay, so we're talking about like a potential paradigm shift, not just a change in how we buy our lattes.
Right.
What else could blockchain disrupt?
Well, it could streamline supply chains, making them more efficient and secure.
Okay.
We could see more transparent voting systems, reducing the potential for fraud.
Wow.
It could even transform how we manage our online identities, giving individuals more control over their personal data.
This is getting pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We're talking about a potential future that sounds both exciting and, to be honest, a little intimidating.
It is. And that's the fascinating thing about being on the cusp of such a monumental shift.
Yeah.
And remember, the ECB, whether intentionally or not, is playing a key role in this unfolding narrative.
Yeah.
Their prediction, their concerns, their potential resistance, it all adds fuel to the fire.
So we've got the EU facing these economic challenges, the ECB dropping this $10 million Bitcoin bombshell, and Bitcoin waiting in the wings with the potential to upend the entire financial system.
Right.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's bring it back down to earth.
Okay.
What are the immediate implications of all of this?
Well, one thing is clear. This is generating a lot of uncertainty.
Sure.
Businesses, investors, and everyday people are trying to figure out how to navigate this rapidly changing landscape.
Yeah.
Think of it like trying to predict the weather in the middle of a hurricane.
Right.
There are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, it feels like we're all scrambling to read the tea leaves, trying to anticipate where this financial hurricane might make landfall.
Right, and while predicting the future is impossible,
Right.
what we can do is educate ourselves,
Yeah.
stay informed,
Yeah.
and be prepared to adapt.
Be adaptable.
Yeah, the old financial rule book is being rewritten right before our eyes,
Yeah.
and the rules of the game are changing.
So what advice would you give to our listener who's probably feeling a little overwhelmed by all this?
Yeah.
Because I have to admit, it's a lot to process.
Take a deep breath and don't panic.
Okay.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Right.
Do your research, approach this with a healthy dose of both skepticism and curiosity.
Yeah, yeah.
And remember, the future isn't something that happens to us.
Right.
It's something we create together.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in this financial revolution.
Right.
We're active participants.
We are.
Our choices, our actions, they all contribute to shaping the world of tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's why these conversations are so crucial.
Yeah.
We need to explore different perspectives, challenge assumptions, and think critically about the systems that govern our lives.
Yeah.
Because the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to make decisions that create a future we can all be proud of.
Well said. This deep dive has been incredibly thought-provoking so far, and we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
In our final segment, we'll explore some potential scenarios for the future of Bitcoin and the euro. Stay with us. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this fascinating prediction from the European Central Bank that Bitcoin could hit $10 million and what that could mean for the future of money.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? From the EU's economic hurdles to the potential for Bitcoin to disrupt the traditional financial order and even the broader implications of blockchain technology.
We've talked about hyperinflation Bitcoin as a potential hedge against that inflation, and even what a world where Bitcoin plays a central role might look like. But now in this final segment, let's try to tie it all together. What are some potential scenarios for the future of Bitcoin and the euro?
Okay, let's put on our prognostication hats and play out a few possibilities. Scenario 1. The euro stabilizes inflation, remains manageable, and Bitcoin continues to exist as a niche asset, popular with tech-savvy folks and investors, but not widely adopted as an everyday currency.
So in this scenario, Bitcoin doesn't quite live up to its disruptive potential. It remains more of a sideshow than the main event.
Right? It exists alongside the traditional financial system, but doesn't fundamentally alter it. Central banks retain control, and the familiar financial landscape remains largely intact.
Okay, that's one possibility. What's another scenario?
Scenario 2. The EU's economic problems worsen, inflation spirals out of control, and people lose faith in the euro. Suddenly, Bitcoin's appeal as a safe haven asset skyrockets. Its price explodes just as the ECB predicted, and we see a surge in adoption as people look for a more stable alternative.
So this is the scenario where Bitcoin really takes center stage, potentially challenging the euro and other traditional currencies. What kind of impact would that have on the world?
This scenario could lead to a more decentralized financial system. Think about it. Power shifts away from central banks and governments and becomes more distributed among individuals. This could potentially create a more resilient, transparent, and accessible financial system.
That sounds like a pretty radical departure from the world we know.
It will be a significant change. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this kind of shift isn't inherently good or bad. It's about understanding the potential benefits and drawbacks of both centralized and decentralized systems and figuring out what works best for individuals and societies.
Okay, so we've got two very different scenarios. One where Bitcoin remains on the sidelines and another where it completely reshapes the game. Is there a middle ground?
Of course. Scenario 3. Bitcoin and the euro coexist, each serving different purposes. The euro remains the go-to for everyday transactions, while Bitcoin is used primarily as a store of value, a hedge against inflation, and a way to move wealth across borders quickly and efficiently.
A kind of hybrid system where both traditional finance and the crypto world have a seat at the table.
Exactly. This scenario acknowledges the strengths of both systems, the euro's stability and familiarity, and Bitcoin's innovative, decentralized nature.
That does seem like a balanced approach, but predicting the future is always a bit of a gamble, right?
Absolutely. These are just 3 potential paths, and there are countless others that could unfold. The reality is the future is constantly being written, and it's impossible to predict with certainty which scenario will play out.
So what's the main takeaway for our listener who's trying to make sense of all this?
The key is to stay informed, remain open to new ideas, and be prepared for change. The financial world is in a state of constant evolution, and the future is full of possibilities. Engage with these conversations, ask questions, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
I think that's a fantastic note to end on. This has been a truly fascinating deep dive into the potential future of Bitcoin, the euro, and the global financial system. We've explored complex ideas, questioned long-held assumptions, and hopefully sparked some thought-provoking conversations along the way.
If we've left you with one lasting thought, it's this. The future of finance is not predetermined. It's something we actively create through our choices, our actions, and our willingness to embrace new ideas and technologies.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning the world around you.